The Last Valentine, a dark romance thriller. Prologue, February 14th, 1 year ago. The heart was perfect. Detective Sarah Chen stood in the doorway of the hotel suite, her breath fogging in the cold air. Someone had left the window open, letting winter into the room. On the king-sized bed, arranged with the careful precision of a lover's gift, was a human heart. Not a metaphor. Not chocolate. An actual human heart, still glistening red, placed in the center of an elaborate arrangement of roses. Red roses. Naturally. It was Valentine's Day. Jesus Christ, her partner, Detective Marcus Webb, muttered behind her. He'd seen a lot in his 20 years with the NYPD, but this was something new. Is that real? Yes. Sarah pulled on gloves, stepped carefully into the room. The roses were fresh, expensive, long-stemmed with that perfect hothouse cultivation, arranged in a heart shape around the organ, and tucked beneath it, a card. White card stock, elegant script. Sarah used a pen to flip it open. Asterisk to my Valentine. Forever yours, in this life and the next. Asterisk. No signature. No name. Just that promise, written in ink that matched the color of the roses. The color of blood. Where's the body? Marcus asked, scanning the room. Standard hotel suite. Expensive but not ostentatious. Everything neat except for the macabre centerpiece. If the heart's here, the rest has to be somewhere. Not necessarily, Sarah said, studying the arrangement. The positioning was too deliberate, too artistic. This wasn't a crime scene in the traditional sense. This was a statement. A gift. Run the room. Get forensics up here. I want to know who booked it, who was seen coming and going, and I want to find out whose heart this is. You think the victim's already dead? I think, Sarah said slowly, that someone cut out their heart and brought it here as a Valentine's Day present. So yes, Marcus. I think they're very dead. What she didn't say, what she was thinking as she looked at the card's careful script, was that this felt like a beginning, not an end. You didn't make a display like this as a one-time thing. You didn't go to this much effort, this much theatricality, unless you were trying to say something. The question was, to whom? Part 1. February 14th, present day. Sarah woke to her phone ringing at 6 a.m., which meant either someone was dead or someone was about to be. On Valentine's Day, in her experience, the odds favored the former. Chen, she answered, already swinging out of bed. We've got another one. Marcus's voice was tight. Same MO. Hotel room, heart on the bed, roses. This time the plaza. Sarah's blood went cold. Victim. No body yet. But the heart's fresh. CSI estimates less than 12 hours removed. I'm on my way. She dressed quickly. Jeans, practical shirt, her shoulder holster. Caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and saw what a year of hunting a ghost had done to her. Dark circles under her eyes. Sharper cheekbones from skipped meals. Hair pulled back in a ponytail that said, function over form. She was 34 and looked 40. The Valentine Killer, that's what the media had dubbed him after the third heart appeared, was Sarah's obsession. 4 victims over the past year, all on Valentine's Day or the days immediately surrounding it. 4 hearts, arranged in increasingly elaborate displays. 4 bodies never found. And 0 leads. The Plaza Hotel was already a circus when Sarah arrived. News vans, uniforms holding back reporters, the whole circus. She badged her way through, found Marcus waiting in the lobby. Same floor as last year, he said. 14th floor. Room 1402. Of course. The 14th. Valentine's Day. The killer liked his symbolism. The hotel room was nearly identical to the one from a year ago. Different hotel, same aesthetic. Expensive, anonymous. The kind of place where wealthy people conducted affairs or business too sensitive for offices. And on the bed, arranged with that same meticulous care, another heart. Fresh roses. Red, perfect, arranged in a heart shape. And the organ at the center, still glistening, looking like something from a medical school anatomy class, except for the casual intimacy of its presentation. Card? Sarah asked. Marcus pointed. Same white card stock, same elegant script. Asterisk to my forever love. Your heart beats only for me now. Asterisk. Sarah felt something twist in her chest. The language was escalating. Forever love, instead of Valentine. More possessive. More personal. Any witnesses? She asked. Hotel staff says the room was booked 3 days ago under the name James Valentine. Of course it was. Credit card was a dead end. Stolen number, already cancelled. No cameras on this floor. Some kind of technical issue that started yesterday. Marcus pulled out his notebook. The roses were delivered this morning at 5 a.m. Delivery guy says he left them outside the door with a $50 tip. Never saw who picked them up. The heart. Being analyzed now. Preliminary exam says female, mid-20s to mid-30s. Same careful removal as the others. Whoever's doing this has surgical knowledge. Sarah walked the room, trying to see what she was missing. The killer was taunting them. Had to be. 4 hearts, 4 Valentine's days, and they were no closer to catching him than they'd been after the first one. There, she said suddenly, pointing to the nightstand. Something that hadn't been there before. A small envelope, red wax seal, her name written across it in that same elegant script. Detective Sarah Chen. Don't touch it, Marcus warned, but Sarah was already pulling on fresh gloves. The envelope was thick, expensive paper. The wax seal bore an image, 2 hearts intertwined. She broke it carefully, pulled out the card inside. Dear Detective Chen, * Happy Valentine's Day. By now you've found my latest gift. I do hope you appreciate the artistry. Each heart I've given has been carefully chosen, perfectly preserved, offered with the deepest love, asterisk. Asterisk, but you haven't found the bodies. You haven't understood the message. Perhaps that's because you're looking in the wrong place. Perhaps because you're asking the wrong questions. Asterisk. Asterisk, the right question, detective, isn't, who is the killer? Asterisk. Asterisk, the right question is, who is the Valentine? Asterisk. Asterisk, I've been leaving you clues. Breadcrumbs in my carefully constructed fairy tale. But you haven't followed them. So let me make this simple asterisk. Asterisk, come alone to the place where we first met. Come at midnight. Come ready to finally understand. Asterisk. I'll be waiting. Your secret admirer. Son of a bitch, Marcus breathed, reading over her shoulder. He's been writing to you? This whole time? No. Sarah's hands were shaking. This is the first direct contact. The place where we first met. What does that mean? Could be the first crime scene. The hotel last year. Could be. But Sarah's instincts said otherwise. This felt more personal, more intimate. Where we first met implied a relationship, a connection she didn't remember having. You're not going, Marcus said. This is obviously a trap. Obviously, Sarah agreed. Which is why I need backup. Discreet backup. And I need to figure out what he means by where we first met. She pulled out her phone, started pulling up the case files. 4 victims, or 4 hearts at least. No bodies, no clear connection between them. Woman in her 20s, woman in her 30s, man in his 40s, and now another woman. Different ages, different backgrounds, no obvious link. Except they all had hearts that ended up as Valentine's Day gifts for a killer Sarah had never seen. Run the victims again, she told Marcus. Everything. Where they lived, where they worked, where they spent their time. There has to be a connection. There has to be something that ties them all together. Besides having their hearts cut out? Besides that. Marcus left to coordinate with the rest of the team. Sarah stayed in the hotel room, staring at the heart on the bed, trying to think like the killer. Why hearts? Because it was Valentine's Day? Because of the symbolism? Love, the seat of emotion, the center of life? Or something more specific? And why arrange them so carefully? Why the roses, the cards, the theatrical presentation? Unless it wasn't about the victims at all. Unless they were just props in a larger story. A story the killer was telling to someone specific. To Sarah. Asterisk. The right question is, who is the Valentine? Asterisk. Not who was killing. Who was being courted. Who was the intended recipient of these terrible gifts. Sarah looked down at the card in her hands, the elegant script, the careful wording, and realized with cold clarity that she'd been wrong about everything. The Valentine Killer wasn't a serial killer. He was a suitor, and she was his Valentine. Part 2. The first meeting. Sarah spent the rest of the day digging through her past. If the killer claimed they'd first met, that meant an actual encounter. Something she'd remember. Or should remember. She pulled every case she'd worked in the past 5 years, every investigation, every interview. Looked for connections to the victims, to the hotels, to anything that might explain how a killer had fixated on her. The precinct had set up a war room, whiteboards covered with victim photos, timelines, evidence reports. Sarah stood in the center of it, trying to see the pattern everyone else had missed. "Walk me through the victims again," she told Marcus. "Everything." He pulled out his notes, detailed reports he'd compiled over the past year. Victim 1. Melissa Hartley, 27, marketing executive. Last seen leaving work on February 13th last year. Reported missing by her roommate on February 15th. No body, no crime scene, just her heart showing up in that hotel room. Sarah studied Melissa's photo. Attractive, professional, dark hair like Sarah's own. Where did she work? Marketing firm in Midtown. Data stream analytics. Marcus flipped through pages. She was an account manager. Good at her job, well-liked. Co-workers said she'd been excited about a new relationship but hadn't shared details. A relationship she met where? Dating app. Truelove. Same one I mentioned before. Sarah made a note. Victim 2. David Morrison, 41, hedge fund manager. Disappeared February 9th last year. Hart showed up February 14th in a hotel room in the meatpacking district. Wait. Sarah leaned forward. Different dates. Yeah, I noticed that too. They weren't all killed on Valentine's Day. They were all found on Valentine's Day, but the disappearances happened earlier. Some by days, some by over a week. Sarah's mind raced. He's keeping them alive. Somewhere. Then he removes the hearts and displays them on the day, but the actual abductions happen earlier. Which gives him time, Marcus said. Time to prepare. Time to do whatever he does to them before he takes their hearts. Sarah pulled out her own notes. That changes the timeline. That means he's holding them somewhere. A place with privacy, with soundproofing, with medical equipment sophisticated enough to perform a sternotomy. A what? The procedure to open the chest cavity and access the heart. It's major surgery. You need specific tools, knowledge, a sterile environment. Marcus's expression darkened. So we're not just looking for a killer. We're looking for someone with medical training and access to surgical facilities. Or someone who's willing to pay for that access. You can rent surgical suites for private procedures. Some doctors do black market work, cosmetic procedures without licenses, experimental treatments. Sarah started pulling up databases. Pull records for any private surgical facilities within 100 miles of New York. Cross-reference with our timeline. That's going to be a lot of locations. Then we better get started. They worked through the afternoon, compiling lists, making calls, chasing down leads that went nowhere. The forensic team returned with preliminary analysis on the latest heart, female, mid-20s, AB negative blood type, removed within the last 12 to 18 hours with surgical precision. AB negative, Sarah repeated. That's rare. Maybe 2% of the population. Which might help us identify the victim, Marcus said. If she's been reported missing in the last few days, and she has that blood type. She hasn't been reported yet, Sarah said. None of them were reported until after their hearts showed up. He's choosing people whose disappearance won't be immediately noticed. People who live alone, or who travel frequently, or who've told friends and family they're going away for a few days. Premeditated. Careful. Obsessed, Sarah corrected. There's a difference. Premeditation is cold. This is, she gestured at the photos, the elaborate displays. This is passion. Terrible, twisted passion, but passion nonetheless. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk tick-tock. Detective. Midnight approaches. Have you figured out where we met? Asterisk. Sarah showed Marcus. He's monitoring me. Somehow. He knows I'm at the precinct. Knows I'm investigating. We can trace this. Burner phone, probably. But yes, try. Sarah looked at the clock. 3 p.m. 9 hours until midnight. I've been going through my case history, looking for anyone I interviewed, arrested, investigated who might have developed an obsession, but I can't find a clear connection. Maybe it's not about a case. Maybe it's something else. A coffee shop you frequent, a gym, somewhere you go regularly where someone could have seen you, fixated on you. Sarah thought about her routine. Precinct, home, the Thai place on the corner, the gym 3 blocks from her apartment. She wasn't exactly a social butterfly. After her divorce 3 years ago, she'd thrown herself into work. Barely dated. Barely did anything except solve murders. There's something else, Marcus said. The victims. I've been trying to find what connects them, and I think I found it. They all used the same dating app. Which one? True Love. It's one of those algorithm-based ones that claims to find your perfect match based on deep psychological profiling. All 4 victims had active accounts. And he pulled up something on his laptop. Look at their profiles. Sarah leaned in. The photos showed attractive people, smiling, carefully curated images designed to attract partners. But it was the bios that caught her attention. Asterisk, looking for someone real. Someone who sees past the surface. Asterisk. Asterisk. Tired of games. Want genuine connection. Asterisk. Asterisk. Seeking my other half. The one who completes me. Asterisk. They're all looking for serious relationships, Sarah said. Not hookups. Not casual. They wanted love. And they found it, Marcus said darkly. Just not the kind they expected. Sarah pulled out her phone, downloaded the Trulove app, created a profile with minimal information, just enough to browse. The app was slick, professional. After a brief questionnaire about her preferences, values, and personality, it started showing her potential matches. Men and women of various ages, all with detailed profiles, all supposedly compatible with her based on some proprietary algorithm. She scrolled through, looking for anything familiar, any face she might recognize, any connection to her own life. And then she saw it. A profile with no photo, just a silhouette where the picture should be. Username: Forever_. The bio was a single line. Asterisk. I've been waiting for you. Tonight, we finally meet. Asterisk. Sarah's blood ran cold. Marcus. He looked over her shoulder. What the hell? It's him. It has to be. Sarah clicked on the profile, trying to access more information, but it was locked. Private. The only way to learn more would be to match with him. There was a message waiting. Asterisk. Hello, detective. I wondered when you'd find me here. This is where it started, you see. Where I first saw you. Where I first knew. Asterisk. Asterisk. You created a profile 2 years ago. You were curious. Lonely. Fresh from your divorce, and wondering if there was someone out there for you. Someone who could understand the darkness you see every day. Asterisk. Asterisk. I saw your profile. Read your words. And I knew. You were the one I'd been searching for. Asterisk. Asterisk. But you only stayed on the app for 3 days. You deleted your account before we could match. Before I could reach you. Asterisk. I've been trying to get your attention ever since. Sarah's hands shook. She remembered that. 2 years ago, in a moment of weakness after signing her divorce papers, she'd downloaded Trulove, had filled out the questionnaire, uploaded a photo, written something optimistic about finding connection. I was at the coffee shop, she said aloud. The one on the corner near my apartment. Having a latte, feeling sorry for myself, and I downloaded this stupid app. And he saw you, Marcus said. Was he there? In the coffee shop? Or watching from outside? Or tracking the app's location data? Sarah pulled up her archived profile. The app kept everything, even deleted accounts. Looked at what she'd written 2 years ago. Asterisk. Detective with the NYPD. I spend my days dealing with the worst humanity has to offer, and I'm looking for someone who can remind me there's still good in the world. I love art museums, terrible kung fu movies, and Thai food at 2 a.m. Looking for something real with someone who understands that darkness exists but chooses light anyway. Asterisk. She'd been drunk when she wrote that. Maudlin and lonely, and hoping something magical would happen. And then 3 days later she'd sobered up, felt ridiculous, and deleted everything. He screenshot it, Sarah realized. My profile. He had to have. That's how he knows exactly what I wrote. Another text arrived. Asterisk. You understand now. Good. That vulnerability you showed, that moment of honesty, it was beautiful, intoxicating. I fell in love with those words, with the woman who wrote them. Asterisk. But then you took them away. Deleted your truth. Went back to hiding behind your detective's armor. Asterisk. I couldn't let that stand. Couldn't let you retreat into loneliness. So I found substitutes. People who reminded me of you. Who wanted what you wanted. And I loved them as practice for loving you. Asterisk. But now it's time for the real thing. Asterisk midnight. Detective. The coffee shop. Come alone, or people die. You know I'm capable of it. Asterisk. Your secret admirer. We need to evacuate the area, Marcus said immediately. Clear the coffee shop, the surrounding buildings. He'll see it, Sarah said. He's been watching me for 2 years. He knows how we operate. The second we start moving people, he'll know, and he'll disappear. Or worse, he'll kill his next victim out of spite. So what? You just walk in there with no backup? I walk in there appearing to have no backup. You'll be close. Won't you? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. You're not going alone. I don't care what he said in the note. I'll be close. Out of sight, but close. Thank you. They spent the next hours preparing. Sarah wore a wire, tucked a backup weapon in an ankle holster, memorized the layout of the coffee shop and surrounding area. Marcus coordinated with a small team, people Sarah trusted to be discreet, to hang back until needed. But Sarah also did something else. Something she didn't tell Marcus about. She pulled up the dating app again, looked at the Forever's profile, and she sent a message. Asterisk, why me? Out of millions of women in New York, why fixate on me? Asterisk. The response came almost immediately. Asterisk, because you understand death. You live with it every day. You see the worst of humanity and continue fighting. That takes a strength most people don't have. Asterisk. And because in that moment, when you wrote your profile, you were honest about wanting connection despite everything. Despite the darkness. Despite knowing how badly love can go wrong. Asterisk. That honesty was a gift, and I intend to honor it. Asterisk. Sarah typed. Asterisk, the victims. Did they know what was happening? In the end. Asterisk. Another quick response. Asterisk, they knew they were loved. Completely. Absolutely. Without reservation or condition. I gave them something most people never experience. The certainty of being someone's entire world. Asterisk. Was it terrifying? Yes. But terror and ecstasy are closer than most people realize. Asterisk. Sarah's stomach turned. But she kept typing. Asterisk, and their hearts. Why take them? Asterisk. Because the heart is love's home. Because possession of the heart means possession of love itself. Because when I display them, when I offer them as gifts, I'm showing you the depth of what I'm willing to give. Asterisk. My own heart included. That made Sarah pause. Your own heart. Asterisk, wait and see. Detective. Midnight approaches. And I've prepared something special. Asterisk. Sarah set down her phone. Marcus had returned with a tactical plan. Sniper positions, backup units, extraction routes. All the standard protocol for a dangerous meetup. One more thing, Sarah said. If something happens to me, if this goes wrong, I need you to check something. She gave him the login information for the TrueLove app, her profile, the messages she'd exchanged with Forever's. He's planning something, she said. Something beyond just meeting. He mentioned his own heart. I think, Marcus, I think he might be planning to kill himself. A murder-suicide? Or a grand gesture? Some kind of final statement? Just, if I don't make it out, make sure his last victim isn't someone else. Make sure it ends with him. Marcus gripped her shoulder. You're making it out. We all are. And this son of a bitch is going to prison for the rest of his life. At 11:45, Sarah left the precinct and walked the familiar route to her neighborhood. The coffee shop was closed, dark, but the door was unlocked. She pushed it open, every nerve on alert. The interior was lit by a single lamp on the corner table. Her usual table, the one by the window where she'd sat 2 years ago and made that dating profile. And sitting at the table, waiting, was a man she recognized. "Hello, Sarah," said Dr. James Valentine, the precinct's forensic psychologist. The man who consulted on their most difficult cases. The man she'd worked with dozens of times over the past 2 years. The man she'd never suspected. Part 3. The Consultation. Sarah's hand moved toward her weapon, but James raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Please don't," he said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you." "You cut out 4 people's hearts," Sarah said, her voice deadly calm. "You killed them and arranged their organs like Valentine's Day presents." "I preserved them," James corrected gently. "There's a difference. And yes, I removed their hearts. But Sarah, you have to understand, they gave them willingly. In the end." "Bullshit. Is it?" James leaned back, looking relaxed, conversational, the same way he looked during case consultations, analyzing evidence, offering psychological profiles. How many times had they sat like this, discussing criminal pathology, while he'd been planning his own crimes? "I chose very carefully. People who wanted love desperately, who would do anything for genuine connection. I gave them that connection. For a time. And then murdered them. And then freed them from the disappointment that inevitably comes when you realize the person you thought was perfect is just another flawed human." His voice was so reasonable, so calm, like they were discussing a case instead of his murders. "I gave them perfect love. Brief, intense, and eternal. Their hearts beat for me and only me. Forever." Sarah kept her hand near her weapon. She could hear Marcus outside, positioned in the alley behind the coffee shop. The wire she wore was transmitting everything. They had James's confession on tape. All she had to do was keep him talking until backup arrived. "The profile on Truelove. You've been watching me for 2 years. Longer, actually. I first saw you 3 years ago when I started consulting with the precinct. You were brilliant, dedicated, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with conventional beauty. You understood darkness because you'd lived through it. Your divorce. Your father's death. The cases that ate at you." Sarah felt her stomach turn. Her father had died 5 years ago. Heart attack, sudden, devastating. And her divorce. That had been messy, painful, private. How much of her life had James observed? "So you created a dating profile to stalk me." "I created a profile to find you. To match with you. But you deleted your account before the algorithm could connect us. Before I could reach out." He smiled, sad, almost wistful. "I was devastated. I'd found my perfect match, and she'd slipped away. That's when you started killing." "That's when I started practicing," James corrected. "I found people who looked like you, who had your qualities, that searching for connection, that hope despite knowing how dark the world can be. And I learned how to love perfectly, how to show devotion that transcends death. By cutting out their hearts. By taking the symbol of love and making it literal. by showing that I was willing to possess and preserve the most intimate part of another person. James leaned forward slightly. Do you know what happens during a traditional heart removal? It's called a sternotomy. You cut through the breastbone, separate the ribs, expose the thoracic cavity. It's invasive, violent, deeply personal. You're describing murder. I'm describing intimacy. True intimacy requires vulnerability, requires opening yourself completely to another person, letting them see, letting them touch, the parts of you that are usually hidden. His eyes held hers. That's what love is, Sarah. Letting someone reach inside you and hold your heart in their hands. Sarah felt sick, but she kept her voice steady. The victims. Where did you keep them? Between abduction and death. Somewhere safe. Somewhere private. Where we could get to know each other without interruption. James smiled at her expression. You want me to tell you the location, to give you evidence, closure for the families. But Sarah, that's not how this works. This isn't an interrogation. This is a meeting. A first date, if you will. This is an arrest. Is it? Then why haven't your officers burst in yet? Why are you still sitting here, listening to me explain myself? James tilted his head. Because part of you is curious. Part of you wants to understand. It's what makes you a good detective, that need to comprehend the incomprehensible. He was right, and Sarah hated that he was right. She'd been trained to think like criminals, to get inside their heads. And James, brilliant, articulate James, was giving her a window into a mind she'd been trying to understand for a year. Tell me about Melissa Hartley, Sarah said. The first victim. Why her? Because she looked like you. Because when I saw her profile, that same search for genuine connection, that same weariness with superficial relationships, I thought, if I can't have Sarah, perhaps I can have a version of her. Perhaps I can practice love on someone similar, learn what works, what resonates. And what did you learn? That substitutes aren't enough, James said simply. That practicing love on shadows of the real thing only made me want the genuine article more. Each heart I took was a step closer to understanding what I would need to do to win yours. Sarah heard movement outside. Marcus repositioning. James heard it too. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Your backup is getting restless, he said. Detective Webb, isn't it? Good man. Loyal. Protective of you. I've watched how he hovers, always concerned, always alert. He'd make an interesting case study. Leave Marcus out of this. Why? He's part of your story. Part of what makes you who you are. The people we work with, the relationships we form, they shape us. James reached into his jacket pocket slowly. Sarah tensed, but he pulled out only a small photograph, slid it across the table. It was Sarah, at the coffee shop, 2 years ago, sitting at this exact table, her phone in hand, creating that dating profile she'd deleted 3 days later. The photo was taken from outside, through the window, a candid shot of her in an unguarded moment. I took that picture, James said softly. It was raining. You'd just gotten off a difficult shift. I know because I'd seen you at the precinct earlier, looking exhausted. You came here for coffee, sat down, and pulled out your phone. And for about 20 minutes, I watched you create a dating profile. You were spying on me. I was observing the moment when Detective Sarah Chen, tough, competent, always in control, admitted she was lonely, admitted she wanted connection. It was beautiful, vulnerable, human. It was private. Nothing is private in the digital age, Sarah. Every app tracks location, every photo has metadata, every online action leaves a trail. I simply paid attention. James pulled out another photo. This one showed Sarah leaving the precinct. Then another, Sarah at the grocery store. Another, Sarah running in the park. You've been following me. I've been appreciating you, documenting the life of the woman I love. Is that so different from what paparazzi do? From what social media enables? Everyone is watched now. Everyone's life is performance. I'm just honest about being in the audience. Sarah's hand moved to her weapon. This ends now. James Valentine, you're under arrest for... Wait. His voice was sharp. Before you do that, I want you to know something. I've prepared a gift for you. My final Valentine. He reached into his pocket again. This time Sarah drew her weapon, but James moved slowly, deliberately. Pulled out a small box. Red velvet. The kind that holds jewelry. I don't want your gifts. This one you'll want, James said, because it's not from a victim. It's from me. He opened the box. Inside was a heart. Small, perfectly preserved, sitting on a bed of white silk. But unlike the others, this one was different. This one was still connected to something. Thin tubes, mechanical parts, all carefully arranged. It's mine, James said softly. My heart. Literally. I had it removed 3 days ago by a very talented and very discreet surgeon in Mexico. It's been preserved using a technique that maintains the tissue indefinitely. And now I'm giving it to you. Sarah stared at the organ in the box. It looked real. The tissue, the color, the way it sat in its nest of silk. You can't survive. I have an artificial heart, James said. Mechanical. It works perfectly well. Better, actually, than the biological one. No emotions to cloud judgment. No racing pulse when you're near. Just steady, reliable function. He pulled open his shirt, showed her the surgical scar down his sternum. Recent, still healing. I gave you my heart, Sarah. The most literal Valentine possible. Now I want yours. You're insane. So you keep saying. But consider. I've given you everything. My heart, my devotion, 2 years of carefully crafted attention. All I ask is that you give me yours in return. Not metaphorically. Literally. Let me remove it, preserve it, keep it safe forever. And I'll give you what I have. Life without the burden of emotion. Existence without pain. You want to kill me. I want to perfect you, James corrected. To transform you. To make you immortal in the only way that matters. As the eternal object of perfect love. Sarah heard footsteps on the stairs. Marcus and the team moving into position. James heard them too. His expression didn't change, but his hand moved toward his jacket. Don't, Sarah warned, her weapon aimed at his chest. I'm not armed, James said. He pulled out a syringe instead. I'm prepared. For what? To demonstrate my devotion. He plunged the needle into his own arm, pressed the plunger. That's a concentrated paralytic. Enough to stop my artificial heart in approximately 90 seconds. When the team bursts in here, they'll find me dead. And they'll find my gift to you, my heart, given freely. James, don't. I wanted you to choose me, Sarah, to accept my love. But I see now that you're not ready. Perhaps you never will be. So I'll do what every true romantic does when their love isn't returned. He smiled as the drug took effect, his movements slowing. "I'll die for you. Dramatically. Memorably. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering if you made the right choice." The door burst open. Marcus and 3 officers stormed in, weapons drawn. "He's down," Marcus shouted. "Sarah, you okay?" Sarah stood frozen, watching James slump in his chair, his breathing growing shallow. The artificial heart in his chest would stop in seconds, and there would be nothing they could do. No biological heart to restart, no way to revive him. "Medics!" she shouted, but she knew it was too late. James looked at her with fading awareness. "My heart is yours," he whispered. "Forever." "And Sarah," his voice dropped to barely audible, "I'm not alone in this. There are others who understand, who see what we could have been." "What do you mean?" Sarah leaned closer. "James, who else?" But his eyes had already gone glassy. His chest stopped moving. The artificial heart, starved of the electrical signals his brain had provided, simply ceased. Marcus checked for a pulse, found nothing. "He's gone." Sarah looked at the box on the table. James's biological heart, preserved and offered like a twisted valentine. She felt nauseous, violated, and terrified all at once, because James's last words echoed in her mind. "I'm not alone in this." Part 4. The Aftermath. They found the bodies 3 days later, in a storage unit James had rented under a false name. 4 people, preserved with chemicals, their chests carefully opened and empty. Melissa Hartley, David Morrison, Jennifer Chen, and Kathleen Roberts. All killed in the week before Valentine's Day. All with their hearts removed with surgical precision. All kept in climate-controlled conditions that had maintained their bodies in near-perfect condition. Sarah stood in the storage unit, surrounded by CSI techs and forensic photographers, and tried not to vomit. The space was clinical, organized, almost respectful in its arrangement. Each body lay on a separate gurney, covered with white sheets that had been pulled back for examination. James had dressed them in formal clothes, suits and dresses, as if preparing them for viewing at a funeral home. He treated them like treasures, Dr. Patel, the medical examiner, said. She was a small woman with steel-gray hair and the kind of professional detachment that came from decades of examining the dead. "Look at the incisions, clean, precise, done with surgical tools and knowledge." He took his time, made sure everything was perfect. "How long were they alive after abduction?" Sarah asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. "Based on the internal examination, I'd say most of them survived 3 to 5 days post-capture." He kept them sedated. We found traces of midazolam in their systems, along with nutrients that would have been administered through 4. He wasn't torturing them, not in the traditional sense. "Just preparing them," Marcus said grimly. He'd been unusually quiet since James's death, processing the fact that they'd worked alongside a serial killer for years without suspecting. Preparing, yes. But also, Dr. Patel pulled back one of the sheets further, showed them Jennifer Chen's body. The woman's face was peaceful, almost serene. Look at her expression. This isn't the face of someone who died in terror. The muscles are relaxed, the features composed. He gave them something that made the end easier. "He loved them," Sarah said, the words tasting bitter. In his twisted way, he genuinely believed he loved them. So he made their deaths as painless as possible. "Doesn't make him less of a monster," Marcus said. "No, but it makes him a more complicated monster." They found James's journals that same day, in his apartment, a neat, tastefully decorated space in the Upper West Side that revealed no obvious signs of the killer who'd lived there. No torture chamber in the basement, no wall of victim photos, just a normal apartment belonging to a successful professional, except for the locked filing cabinet in his home office. Inside were 17 notebooks, dating back 3 years. Sarah sat at James's desk, wearing gloves, and read his handwritten accounts of stalking, planning, and killing. The prose was careful, almost lyrical in places, a psychological study of his own obsession written by someone who understood exactly what he was doing and chose to do it anyway. March 15th. 3 years ago. I saw her today. Detective Sarah Chen. She was giving a presentation on criminal psychology to the new recruits. Ironic, given what I'm about to become. She spoke about understanding the criminal mind, about getting inside the killer's perspective. I wanted to raise my hand and tell her, I can help with that. I'm living it, but I didn't. Instead, I watched, studied the way she moved, the way she commanded the room with quiet authority. She's beautiful in a severe way, all sharp angles and sharper intelligence. The kind of woman who intimidates men who need their egos stroked. I'm not that kind of man. I see her clearly, brilliant, damaged, isolated by choice and circumstance. A woman who's built walls around herself because she's seen too much darkness. Who's forgotten how to let someone in. I want to be the one who reminds her. Sarah flipped through pages, watching James's obsession develop in real time. He documented every encounter, case consultations where Sarah had sought his advice, coffee runs where they'd happened to be at the precinct cafe at the same time, even times when he'd followed her home from work, watching from a distance. June 3rd. 2 years ago. She signed up for True Love today. I've been monitoring her digital footprint. Not difficult when you know what you're doing, and I saw the app download, saw her create a profile. For a moment I thought, this is it. The algorithm will match us. We'll connect properly. But then I read what she wrote. Looking for someone who understands that darkness exists, but chooses light anyway. She's looking for a hero. Someone who faces the void and doesn't blink. Someone who can stand beside her in the darkness without being consumed by it. I'm not that person. I've already been consumed. The darkness isn't something I stand against. It's something I've embraced. Become. So I can't approach her this way. Can't match with her honestly. She'd see what I am and run. I need a different approach. Something that makes her understand. Darkness isn't something to fight. It's something to accept. To love. I need to show her perfect darkness. Perfect love. The kind that doesn't flinch from what it takes to possess someone completely. The entries after that detailed his plans. How he'd found people who resembled Sarah. How he'd matched with them on True Love, courted them, won their trust. How he'd led them to believe they were falling in love with him before revealing the truth, that they were substitutes, practice runs, lessons in how to love someone unto death. September 10th, 2 years ago. The first Melissa Hartley, 27, marketing executive. She looks enough like Sarah to serve the purpose. Dark hair, intelligent eyes, that same searching quality in her dating profile. Looking for someone real. I can give her that. Reality, stripped of all pretense. Love that demands everything and gives everything in return. We've been dating for 3 weeks. She thinks I'm a doctor. Not entirely false, given my PhD. She thinks this is going somewhere permanent. Marriage, children, the whole domesticated dream. Asterisk. Asterisk, she's not wrong. This is permanent. Just not in the way she imagines. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll take her tomorrow. Give her 3 days to understand what we are, what we mean to each other. Then I'll remove her heart, carefully, respectfully, and preserve it. My first Valentine for Sarah. Asterisk. Asterisk, Melissa will become immortal, the eternal object of my practice love. And Sarah, eventually, will understand what this means. What I'm willing to do. Asterisk. What I'm willing to become. Sarah closed the notebook, feeling sick. James had documented everything, every step of his descent into murder, every rationalization, every twisted expression of devotion. Reading it was like watching someone drown in slow motion while they smiled and called it swimming. "There's something else," Marcus said, appearing in the doorway. His computer. Digital forensics found his communications on Truelove. Sarah, he wasn't working alone. What? There's a second account. Someone he was corresponding with. They've been talking for months, sharing strategies, discussing philosophy, encouraging each other. Marcus pulled out printed logs. Look at this. The messages were clinical, almost academic in tone. Asterisk forever. I've been thinking about your methodology. The display, the theatricality. It's brilliant. But have you considered the aftermath? What happens after you've won her? Asterisk. Asterisk forever. Winning isn't the goal. The pursuit is the goal. The demonstration of devotion. If she accepts me, wonderful. If she doesn't, well, the rejection itself becomes part of the romantic narrative. Asterisk. Asterisk forever. Martyrdom. Very Victorian. Have you read Thomas Hardy? Tess of the d'Urberville? The romantic tragedy of loving someone who can never accept you. Asterisk. Asterisk forever. Many times. It's the blueprint, in some ways. Love that destroys even as it elevates. Asterisk. Asterisk forever. I've been working on my own approach. Different from yours. Less theatrical, more intimate. But the core philosophy is the same. Perfect love requires perfect sacrifice. Asterisk. Forever underscores. Tell me more. The conversations went on for pages. Two killers, discussing their obsessions like academics at a conference, trading notes on technique, philosophy, target selection, encouraging each other's delusions. Can we trace the second account? Sarah asked. That's the problem. It's routed through multiple proxies, encrypted. Digital forensics is working on it, but it'll take time. Marcus looked at her seriously. Sarah, this person knows everything. James told them about you, about his plans, about his feelings. They know your routines, your weaknesses, how he planned to approach you. And now James is dead. Which means either they give up. Marcus didn't finish the thought. He didn't have to. Or they see it as their turn, Sarah finished. James failed, so they'll try. Continue his work. That's what I'm afraid of. Sarah looked at the printouts, at the careful planning, the shared obsession. She thought about James's last words. I'm not alone in this. He'd been warning her. Or bragging. Or both. We need to find them, she said, before next Valentine's Day. That gives us a year. Not enough time, Sarah said, because she understood something Marcus didn't, something James had taught her through his terrible example. Obsession didn't operate on normal timelines. Foreverance after wasn't going to wait a year. They'd already been planning, preparing, studying James's success and failures. They'd move sooner. The question was, how soon? 2 weeks after James's death, Sarah received a package at the precinct. Her name, addressed in that familiar, elegant script. Inside was a letter and a small key. Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, I've succeeded in my final goal, giving you my heart and ensuring you'll never forget me. I know you're angry, confused, possibly traumatized. That's natural. Love, real love, is always a bit traumatic. It changes us, reshapes us, forces us to see the world differently. Asterisk. I've left you something. A final gift. The key in this envelope opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank, box number 1401, February 14th, 01. Did you catch the symbolism? Inside, you'll find documentation, journals, evidence of my devotion. Asterisk. I've also included something else. Research. Years of work on the psychology of love, obsession, and devotion. My life's work, really. It's brilliant, if I do say so myself. And it's yours now. Asterisk. Publish it under your name. Take credit for the insights. Use it to catch other killers, other obsessives like me. My death will have meaning beyond being the object of your eternal guilt and fascination. Asterisk. Because that's what I'll be now, Sarah. Forever in your mind. Every Valentine's Day, every time someone brings you roses, every time you consider dating again, you'll think of me, of what I did for you, of how much I loved you. Asterisk. Perfect love doesn't require reciprocation. It only requires dedication. Asterisk. I was dedicated to you, Sarah, unto death. Asterisk. Forever yours, James. Sarah stared at the letter for a long time. Then she took the key and walked to First National Bank. The safety deposit box was exactly where James said it would be. Inside, she found 3 notebooks filled with his meticulous handwriting, psychological profiles of each victim, notes on how he'd chosen them, stalked them, won their trust, documentation of how he'd kept them alive for days, talking to them, learning them, loving them in his twisted way before removing their hearts. And beneath the notebooks, a stack of research papers. James had been telling the truth. It was brilliant work. Psychological insights into criminal behavior that could revolutionize how law enforcement approached certain types of cases. Work she could never publish, because it was built on the foundation of his murders. At the bottom of the box was one more item, a photograph. It was Sarah, at the coffee shop, 2 years ago, sitting at the corner table, her phone in hand, creating that dating profile she'd deleted 3 days later. The photo was taken from outside, through the window, a candid shot of her in an unguarded moment. On the back, James had written, "The moment I knew." Sarah looked at the photograph for a long time, at the woman she'd been 2 years ago, lonely, hopeful, willing to take a chance on connection. The woman who'd opened a door without knowing what was on the other side. She put everything back in the box except the research papers. Those she would burn. Whatever insights James had gained from his murders, they would die with him. His knowledge would not outlive his victims. Epilogue. February 14th, 1 year later. Sarah didn't work Valentine's Day this year. She'd requested the day off months in advance, telling her captain she needed time to process the anniversary. He'd agreed immediately. Everyone at the precinct walked on eggshells around her now. The detective who'd been stalked by a serial killer. The woman whose dating profile had triggered 4 murders. The survivor. Instead of working, she stood in the cemetery where James Valentine had been buried. No family to claim him, no friends to mourn him, just a simple grave marker that gave his name and dates. Nothing about what he'd done. Nothing about the 4 people he'd killed or the detective he'd terrorized. She brought roses. Red ones. The irony wasn't lost on her. "I thought I'd find you here," Marcus said, approaching from the parking lot. He'd aged in the past year too, more grey at his temples, deeper lines around his eyes. "You okay?" "Define okay," Sarah said. "I'm not having a breakdown. I'm not drinking myself into oblivion. I'm just here. Processing." Something like that. She looked at the roses in her hand. "I keep thinking about what he said. About perfect love requiring perfect sacrifice. About devotion that transcends death. Was he completely insane? Or was there something true in his philosophy, just twisted beyond recognition? Does it matter? I think it does. Because if he was completely mad, I can dismiss him. But if there was something real at the core of his obsession, something genuine that got corrupted, then I have to wonder if I missed the warning signs. If I could have stopped him before 4 people died." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You were his victim too, you know. Not in the same way, but you were. He stalked you, invaded your life, killed people to get your attention. None of that is your fault." "I know." Sarah set the roses on James's grave, not as a tribute, but as a closing ritual. "I know it intellectually. I'm still working on believing it emotionally." They stood in silence for a while, the cemetery quiet around them. The past year had been hard. Therapy, nightmares, the constant hypervigilance of knowing someone had been watching her for years. But she'd survived. She'd gone back to work after 3 months, had started rebuilding the parts of herself that James had violated. And she'd been watching for forever. Digital forensics had traced the account to 17 different IP addresses across 12 countries. Whoever was behind it knew how to hide. But they'd made one mistake. They'd mentioned living in New York. They'd referenced weather that matched the city's patterns. They'd slipped enough details to confirm they were local, which meant Sarah could find them. Eventually. "I deleted all my dating apps," Sarah said finally. "I know that's probably an overreaction, but I can't look at them without thinking about how he found me. How one impulsive decision to try online dating led to 4 deaths. That's not how causation works, and you know it." "I know. But tell that to my trauma brain." Marcus smiled slightly. "Have you been to the department therapist?" "Every week. Dr. Morrison is very patient with my refusal to process my feelings in a timely manner. That's progress, I think." Sarah turned away from the grave. "Let's get out of here. I promised myself I'd only stay 5 minutes. Dwelling doesn't help." As they walked back to the parking lot, Sarah's phone buzzed. A notification from Truelove, the app she'd thought she deleted. "You have a new match." Her blood ran cold. She pulled out her phone, opened the app. She'd deleted her account. She knew she'd deleted her account. But there it was. Her profile, active again. And a new message waiting from a user named Forever. *Hello, Detective Chen. Happy Valentine's Day. James told me so much about you." Sarah's hands shook. Marcus saw her expression. "What? What is it?" She showed him the message. Watched the color drain from his face. "He had a partner," Marcus breathed. "James had a goddamn partner. The message continued. Asterisk, he was devoted to you, you know, truly. But devotion like that doesn't die. It transforms, evolves, finds new expression. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll be continuing his work. Not exactly the same. I have my own vision, my own way of showing love. But the core philosophy remains. Asterisk. Asterisk, James believed in grand gestures, in dramatic displays. I prefer something more intimate, more personal. The kind of love that seeps into every aspect of your life until you can't remember what it was like before. Asterisk. Asterisk, I've been watching you, Sarah, just like he did. I've seen your routines, your habits, your fears. I know you check the locks 3 times now. I know you avoid the coffee shop. I know you haven't had a date in a year. Asterisk. Asterisk, that's going to change. Because I'm patient. And I'm creative. And I've learned from James's mistakes. Asterisk. See you soon, detective. Your secret admirer. Sarah stood in the parking lot, her phone in her hand, roses wilting on a grave, and felt the weight of understanding. It wasn't over. It would never be over. Because perfect love, the kind that transcended reason and morality and human decency, didn't end with death. It only found new devotees, new ways to express the oldest obsession, new Valentines to claim. Sarah looked at Marcus. We need to get back to the precinct. Now. You think they've already killed someone? I think, Sarah said, that they've already chosen someone, and I think we have exactly 1 year to find them before another heart ends up in a hotel room. But even as she said it, Sarah knew the truth. Forever After wasn't going to wait a year. They'd been watching, learning, preparing. James's death had been 2 weeks ago, and already they were reaching out, making contact, announcing their intentions. They were moving faster than James had, more confident, less theatrical but more dangerous for it. Sarah had dealt with public horror, grand displays designed to shock. But Forever After promised something different, intimate horror, the kind that happened behind closed doors, in quiet moments, in the spaces between normal life. The kind you didn't see coming until it was too late. They drove back to the city in silence, the weight of another year's hunt settling on their shoulders. Sarah's phone buzzed again. Another message from Forever After. Asterisk P.S. Check your apartment. I left you a gift. Happy Valentine's Day, Detective. Asterisk. Sarah's heart stopped. She pulled out her spare phone, called her building's super. Mr. Kowalski? It's Detective Chen. I need you to check my apartment. Don't go in. Just see if the door's been tampered with. And call 911 if you see anything suspicious. 5 minutes later, her phone rang. Detective, there's something on your door. An envelope. Red. Should I? Don't touch it. I'm sending a bomb squad. Evacuate the building. Marcus was already making calls, dispatching units. Sarah tried to stay calm, tried to think like a detective rather than a victim, but her hands shook as she drove, racing toward her apartment, toward whatever gift Forever After had left. The bomb squad cleared the envelope 2 hours later. Not explosive, just a card. Inside, written in elegant script that matched James's almost exactly. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I've learned from his mistakes. And now I'm coming for you. Asterisk, not with grand displays or public proclamations. Not with hearts in hotel rooms or dramatic confrontations. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'm coming for you slowly. quietly. The way love really develops, through small moments, accumulated touches, the gradual realization that someone has become essential to your life, asterisk. By the time you realize how deep I've gotten, it will be too late. Sweet dreams, detective. And tucked into the card was a photograph. Sarah, asleep in her bed, last night. Taken from inside her apartment. Marcus saw her expression, took the photo. His face went white. They were in your apartment? How? I don't know. Sarah's voice was cold, controlled, the only way she could keep from screaming. But we're going to find out. And we're going to find them. Before they hurt anyone else. But even as she said it, Sarah knew the truth. Forever after had already won the first round. They'd gotten inside her home, inside her safe space. They'd proven they could reach her anywhere, anytime. And unlike James, who'd wanted her to know, to be frightened, to understand, forever after wanted something more insidious. They wanted to become part of her life. To embed themselves so deeply she'd never be able to root them out. The perfect stalker. The perfect obsession. The perfect Valentine. Behind them, the cemetery was quiet, empty except for one grave covered in red roses. And if you'd been watching closely, if you'd had the patience to wait in the cold and observe, you would have seen a figure emerge from behind a mausoleum. Tall, slim, dressed in black. Moving with purpose toward James Valentine's grave. The figure knelt, touched the headstone gently, reverently. "Thank you for teaching me," they whispered, "for showing me what perfect love looks like. I'll make you proud. I promise." They stood, adjusted their coat, and walked away. In their pocket was a list. 7 names. 7 people who matched the psychological profile. 7 potential victims for 7 years of Valentine's days to come. And at the top of the list, underlined 3 times, was the name, Sarah Chen. But crossed out next to it, in red ink, was a note. Asterisk too obvious. Too expected. Start with someone she loves. Make her understand loss before making her understand love. Asterisk. Below Sarah's name, written in fresh ink. Marcus Webb. The figure smiled, disappeared into the winter afternoon, pulling a phone from their pocket and typing a message. Asterisk to my first Valentine. You'll never see me coming. By the time you realize who I am, you'll already be in love. Asterisk. Happy hunting, detective. Forever yours. Forever after. And somewhere in New York City, in a hotel room already reserved for next Valentine's Day, a dozen red roses waited in a cooler, just beginning their year-long preservation. Perfect, beautiful, and already dying. Just like love. Just like Marcus Webb's heart, which was scheduled to stop beating in exactly 365 days. Unless Sarah could stop it. Unless she could solve this case before it became personal in ways she couldn't imagine. Unless she could save her partner before forever after claimed their first Valentine. The game, as they say, was afoot. And Valentine's Day would never be the same again. The end. Or is it just the beginning? Author's note. This story explores the darker side of romantic obsession and the danger of confusing intensity with intimacy. The Valentine Killer represents an extreme pathology, erotomania combined with delusional disorder, but the underlying themes about obsessive love, surveillance culture, and the ways technology facilitates stalking are, unfortunately, all too real. If you or someone you know is experiencing stalking, harassment, or unwanted romantic attention that makes you uncomfortable, resources are available. The National Stalking Resource Center, www.stalkingawareness.org, provides information and support. Real love respects boundaries. Real devotion honors the beloved's autonomy. Anything else isn't romance. It's violence wearing a valentine.